Hey there. Welcome to Be Unmessable With, the podcast. I'm your host, Josselyne Herman-Saccio, and today's turbo tip is about the size of your dreams versus the size of your reasons. Okay, so another way of saying this, are your dreams too big or are your reasons too loud? So let's look at our big dreams and our grand plans. Sometimes we set out with a big dream or a grand plan and we hit a wall, where our goals feel unattainable, far fetched, or maybe just out of reach. And if you've ever felt that way, first of all, if you've never felt that way, then, you definitely are not a human, okay? Because human beings do feel this way from time to time. So you should know you're not alone if you've ever felt this way. And more importantly, having something occur as unattainable doesn't mean that that's the end of the game. It's simply an opportunity to pause and reflect and recalibrate, as I like to say. So I want to emphasize one key point here right from the start. When you revise your goals or recalibrate, it isn't about reacting to a failure or setback, but instead about creating an alternative path forward that aligns with your bigger or broader vision. So let's talk a little bit more about this inside of the difference to reaction from creation. So when we react to setbacks, right, we often deal with the emotions of that. Our frustration or our fear takes over. Or maybe you say to yourself, this isn't working, so I'll just lower the bar. Or you abandon the goal completely, like forget it, starting a new business, that was a bad idea. I'm not the entrepreneurial type. You convince yourself it was unrealistic to begin with, or you're not the right person. Those reactions come from a place of survival. And survival mode is, when you try and minimize the discomfort rather than actively pursuing your growth given by your vision or your dream. So, on the other hand, creation, the world of vision and creation, invites curiosity and intention. Instead of focusing on what went wrong, you ask yourself, okay, what's possible? What's possible right now? What adjustments can I make that would be in line with my vision, be consistent with my principles? And when you shift from what's wrong to what's possible, your mindset shifts for sure because it keeps you connected with your why, with your purpose, with your vision. And you don't have to get totally sideswiped or derailed by the temporary obstacles. So let me give you an example. Imagine, this is definitely not me, but imagine you set a goal for running 5 miles a day, okay? And after a week, you found yourself completely exhausted, or maybe you injured yourself. So the reactive response might be to throw in the towel altogether and say, running is just not my kind of sport. I need to find swimming might be better for me or something. But if you're functioning from the world of vision and creation, let's say your vision is, you know, uh, bang and well-being, or vitality, then you can look at what action can you take given by your vision for vitality. Maybe 5 miles a day was an inappropriate first goal based on the fact that you weren't related to the reality of your current fitness condition. So maybe a more sustainable or smarter plan would be, let's do 2 miles 3 times a week and build the stamina. Then next week I'll do 2.5 miles. And then the week after that, 3 miles, and increase the number over time. So if you notice the difference, one has you abandoning the goal and the other has you revising the plan. And that's really what I want you to start to look at is when you hit a bump in the road, rather than abandon the goal, revise the plan. So how do you practically approach this? The revisiting and reassessing and recalibrating of your goals. Here's a simple framework that you can use. It's 4 steps, okay? The first step is just look at what's working and what's not. Just take stock in your progress or lack of it and just be honest, not self-critical, not a guilt trip. It isn't about blame. It's about actually being related to what's actually happening from a reality perspective, not from your assessment about reality. Second step, reconnect with your vision. Why'd you set this goal in the first place? How does it connect to the bigger picture of what you really want to make available for yourself in your life? So you reground yourself in your vision always. Then the third step is to adjust the approach. This could be in the form of scaling back the number or breaking it into smaller actionable steps, or maybe shifting your focus entirely. It could be, okay, I'm going to do, rowing, or I mean, I don't even know what I'm talking about now because obviously fitness is not my world, but in any case, the key is to stay flexible, pivotable. When you're keeping your vision intact, you're not limited to one vehicle. You have a choice of many vehicles. And then the fourth step is to commit to the new plan. Once you've adjusted your approach, recalibrated based on the current reality, commit to it fully. Put the action steps in your calendar. Create the plan, the timeline, and any accountability measures to keep yourself on track. Get an accountability buddy. Maybe you even have a group of people that are up to something similar. So get in a group that is up to the same kind of goal so that you can hold each other to account. When you make a promise to someone else, it is way more likely that you're going to keep it because you sell out on yourself and your word to yourself way cheaper. Okay. You're a cheap date when it comes to your word. So it's important to also notice and acknowledge when goals evolve, because as you grow, your priorities might change, and that's okay. Maybe this year isn't about building revenue. Maybe this year is about building time with your family, and it doesn't mean that you're abandoning your financial goals. It's that you're recrafting them, recalibrating them. So you have to be able to revisit your goals and actually declare which ones you're retaining, which ones you're revising, and which ones you're releasing, because you do have the option to release a goal. You may not still be committed to whatever that goal was that you had set last year. So my challenge for you this week is to revisit one goal that feels stuck or out of reach, unattainable, and go through the steps that I just outlined. You can re-listen to this episode so you can get the 4 steps and see how you can shift from the world of reaction to the world of creation with regard to that goal. And I'd love to hear how it goes. So make sure to email me. I respond to every email, Joss at theartofbeingunmessablewith.com. And we will see you on the next episode of Be Unmessable With, the podcast.
Thanks for joining me in this episode of Be Unmessable with the podcast. And as you know, I always like to make sure that you got value out of being with me. So I am offering you an additional free gift, which is how to have an unmessable with day. I have put together a checklist of 5 daily practices that you can begin to exercise the muscle of being unmessable with if you do these 5 things every day. So click in the show notes and make sure you download this free checklist of the basics of being unmessable with 5 daily practices. We'll see you on the next episode. And please, if you can take a moment and just rate and review the episode, it makes a huge difference on all the podcast platforms. So if you could do that, I would deeply appreciate it. All right. See you on the next one.